All right, guys, welcome everyone to my YouTube channel. It's Analytics Capper. I'm known as Albert Nguyen. You can find me on social, Analytics Capper, or on my website, analyticscapper.com. I'm excited to have, one of my favorite people I talk to on Twitter, Zak Noble. Let's give it up for Zak. If you can just introduce yourself really quickly, what you do. Maybe some people already know you, but that'd be great.
Yeah, Albert, happy to be here. Basically, I'm a podcaster for Ballislife. I've been with them for about 2.5 years now. This is my second podcast with them. The first one was 4 seasons, went about 203 episodes there. Just started back up Noble and Roosh show. We're on episode 32 with that. And my partner's out of California, Roosh Williams. We're having a lot of fun with that. We're getting a lot of actors, we're getting musicians and NBA players. So people from all over pop culture, really. But at the end of the day, we're an NBA podcast, and that's our focus. Um, every show we talk a little NBA. So I just been working on growing that. I'm trying to break into the sports world any way I can, and had a lot of success with this so far.
Awesome. I'm 36 now. Ballislife is basically part of my DNA. Growing up in high school, I was watching clips on YouTube,
Yeah.
and it just expanded further and further. I guess my question for you is like, how did you get into this space? Like, did you reach out to Ballislife, or just I guess talk about that, the genesis of that?
Yeah, you got it. So we kind of, I knew a guy with Balls Life and just building a relationship there, and uh, said he was bringing on some podcasters and thought I'd be a good fit. And finally, just getting started after a couple of years of just being pretty casual, working for them. It's getting more formal now, and they've started a podcasting network, and they've got 5 to 10 official podcasts on there now, and a couple past players, Bonzi Wells, and I forget a couple of the other guys right now that they're bringing on that have podcasts on the network. And I think a lot of good things are among the horizon here, and I'm really excited. Um, Tim Livingston's running the network there, and he's doing a great job. He's from working with Gilbert Arenas' big podcast, and a couple other major ones. I think HBO a little bit and whatnot. And yeah, I just think it's going in the right direction. And they already got a huge social media presence, and try and turn that into listeners for a podcast.
Yeah, so I know I have a lot of followers and listeners interested about the actual sports industry and how they want to get in, or how they can get in. So were you already podcasting beforehand and then reached out to Ball is Life, or how did that work?
Definitely, yeah. No, I had 4 seasons. I've grown that for about 2.5 years on smaller networks, but Dash Radio was the bigger company that I worked with before then, and just kind of slowly got bigger and bigger with the companies I was working with. CLNS out in Boston, they helped me immensely get in, and they still have a great network. Bob Ryan, Sam Vecini were on that network until Sam got to the Athletic a couple of years back here and transferred over to their network. But yeah, just it's constantly growing, and hopefully this can turn into the end stop. I mean, they already have the social media presence, and trying to figure out how we can make this profitable and keep growing those listeners.
Cool. I mean, so this is more of a fun, casual question, but you're currently in Minnesota now. Before that, like you said, you were in Boston and Kansas City. What's the best city? What's where should I visit next?
Yeah, so we like Boston so much we named my son after that city. That's how memorable it
There
was.
you go.
But yeah, I mean, just there were vital years in the growth of my relationship with my wife and family in general, and got my master's out there, and just a lot of great memories. We're outdoors people, so the ocean and then the mountains not too far away in New Hampshire and Vermont, being able to travel up that way. It's Boston by far, but I mean, there's great things about all of them. Like lived downtown Kansas City, got to live in a building with a lot of Chiefs players, so that was a lot of fun on their come up there. And Had some good times at the rooftop pool, and uh, I enjoy them all. But definitely Boston, East Coast, it was a lot of fun being close to the ocean like that.
You don't have to name any names during your time in Kansas City, but I'm sure you maybe played some spades, played some dominoes, played what was the most money you saw them throw on the table?
Honestly, I mean, just a couple $100 here and there, but I mean, some of the guys we were hanging around with, mainly like Kelsey was the big name, always hanging around, and um, who else do you have? A lot of defensive guys, and then Eric Fisher on the offensive line was a big one that was
Oh,
always
yeah.
around. But yeah, those are the two that come to mind.
All right, so let's get into the hoops. Let's get into the NBA. We just had the All-Star weekend. Giannis, I believe, went 6 for 16, which is crazy. Growing
Electric.
up, yeah, growing up, that's not reality, right? Even in All-Star games, that's not reality. But the fact that he did that is awesome. Steph and Dame showed out. What was your favorite moment in the All-Star game?
The game itself, it had to be the half quarters. I mean, Giannis, I mean, it was special doing what he did, but I mean, the only real special part about it, in my estimation, was the 3 pointers he knocked down. I mean, it was shocking. He made a couple of tough fadeaways, and he just kind of chucked them up with a smile and cocking off, and just throwing up a prayer. Really, I mean, that's the Giannis in a scrimmage like that. Nobody guarding him. So that was fun. But the half quarters by Dame and Steph were the highlights of the game, no doubt. I mean, because there weren't too many fireworks otherwise. Do you got anything that really stuck out to you, or?
It was like so I mean, I think everybody loves Steph, right? I think
Oh yeah,
Dame is kind of like the guy that nobody talks about, even though he is on that level. I feel like if you put Dame on the Warriors from 14 to 18, he would have won the same amount of rings. I think he's just that good. But it was funny when we were watching it on the broadcast. Marv Albert got the name wrong. Marv Albert thought it was Steph that hit the first one, and then thought it
oh
was
shit.
Steph who hit it again. But it was like, no, it was actually Dame and Steph. I mean, I always hate on broadcasters because they
Marv
get a lot of stuff wrong.
Marv's getting a little senile, man. He's
Yeah, yeah,
he's a little
exactly.
loopy these days. But I mean, I'm okay with that take. It's just the timeline. Uh, Dame's peak doesn't go as far as back as when Steph was coming on strong and winning those titles. But Dame at his peak and Steph, I mean, yeah, I'm okay if you think they're identical or very comparable. However, I mean, I use that argument for Harden. I think Steph and Harden are both a step above Dame, but part of
Mhm.
that's, I mean, they've had a little more. I mean, Steph especially had way more support, but Harden, I mean, Chris Paul, Dwight Howard a little bit, but
They were one hamstring away. They were
yeah,
one,
they
yeah.
were there. It was them. Yeah, I'm with you. But no, I'm a firm believer. Two of the biggest gaps because of titles in people's minds is Stephen Harden and then KG and Duncan. But if you reverse roles on
Mm.
those teams, I think Harden's the more, I mean, overall better player than Steph, and KG's the overall more skilled player than Tim Duncan. And those are just two hot takes that I will forever hold on to. That if you switch their teammates and their foundation, that environment, they'd have those titles.
Duncan had the infrastructure and arguably the greatest coach of all time. But it's cool that you bring up KG because I know your team is Minnesota, the T Wolves. Um,
Unfortunately.
they were actually one of my picks to kind of surprise people going into the season. Obviously,
Wow.
that didn't pan out. The cat situation, tough situation there. But if you talk about the T Wolves and the All Star game, who do you think on the roster now would be the first guy to make it back to the All Star game? Whether it's Edwards, whether Cat makes it again, D'Angelo, who do you think?
Yeah, definitely be. I mean, Cat has the highest percentage, but I definitely think if Finch is our new coach there, Chris Finch from Toronto, and if he can really get Edwards some structure. It wouldn't shock me if Edwards became an all-star next year, the year after. I think he's that talented and
Oh
that
yeah.
good. It's just he's a guy. I mean, Timberwolves roster is full of these guys, though. That's the problem. They need that foundation. They need that structure. They need the guy giving them a nudge and putting them in the right spots. They're not going to develop and reach their full potential on their own.
I mean, everyone saw Anthony Edwards' big dunk on the baseline. I think that just broke Twitter that night. But I wish he took the ball to the rack more often. It's kind of like the Andrew Wiggins syndrome, right? It's the same thing over and over.
Don't
I
get me
like
going.
Edwards' shot, and he is clutch. You could tell he doesn't really shy away from the moment. He's always going to take that big shot, but I wish he would just drive it more.
You're right. He's got more of a mentality, more of a dog mentality than Wiggins. But I think he's just came in and he's realized. I mean, this team being Cat's team off the get. I mean, D'Angelo Russell being a past All Star. They kind of put these guys in tiers, and Malik Beasley really wanting to grab the reins himself this year, which that's on the coach for giving a guy that isn't worthy of the full saddle, I guess you can say, giving him everything. And that's what Malik, I mean, Malik's been arguably our second best player all year, but that's not saying much. That's not the guy you want as your second best player. He is who he is, and he's just a good scoring like role
Yeah,
player.
he's just accumulating stats on a bad team, right? We've
He
seen that
always
year in and year out.
tens and tens of those players, and
Yeah.
Edwards, I think I like how he gradually came in, but at the same time, I'd rather just give him his 20 shots and say, let's go. Let's see what
Does
you're
it
made
does it scare you? I mean, a lot of people who were not as high on Anthony, I love him. I think his
of. Okay.
potential is through the roof, even more than I like Halliburton and LaMelo, obviously in this class, but I think Anthony Edwards should be the best player. Um,
Let's go.
but do you think a lot of people were kind of low on him or kind of turned off by his comments heading into the season, like if he had his choice, he would rather play in the NFL, things like that. Does that scare you at all?
Oh yeah, it scared the shit out of me, man. Like I was had way reservations after that. I mean, I started off like building my board probably halfway through his year in college at Georgia, and he was number one on my board until I really dove into LaMelo, honestly. And I'm glad I switched to LaMelo about 3-4 months before the draft, and um, I'm all about LaMelo. I was up until that 3-4 months about before the draft, and I still am. And the thing is, you could be right. Anthony Edwards could have a higher ceiling, um, but LaMelo's floor, he's freaking there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's insane,
And
and
I don't think people realize how big LaMelo is.
yeah, 6'7".
Yeah,
He
six
might be
seven and built.
right.
Like he's not a scrawny kid. Like Lonzo came in scrawny. LaMelo
Super.
is, yeah. LaMelo comes in and he uses his size. He rebounds great, and of course his vision and anticipation. All that is innate. So I mean, you can't go wrong with those two. James Wiseman also has a discussion in Golden State, but let's get into the rest of the NBA, the second half, if you're ready.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to talk about, we all of us have teams that we kind of already marked off as for sure favorites, right? Like we have the Brooklyn Nets, Milwaukee, we have Philly, and then two LA teams. But in your opinion, is there a team that is, that upper echelon team, the Utahs and stuff, that you think is going to flop in the playoffs? Because that's what people don't really talk about. Like
Yeah, right.
The Clippers last year.
So the Clippers last year, I mean, yeah, I mean they were a bit of a flop, but at the same time, Denver was sick. I mean, right?
Bubble
Yeah,
Jamal
yeah, they
Murray.
lost they lost to Denver. Yeah,
Yeah.
4-2. So my thing is the bubble was kind of an anomaly, and lightning in a bottle, Jamal Murray. I do think though that Denver, I mean, they just clicked, they just decided. And Paul George said he was going through all those mental issues, and um, so I kind of just gave it a wash. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate saying that because then it's discrediting LeBron's title. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to be that guy at the same time. But the team that comes to my mind more than anybody is Utah Jazz. That's going to flop. To me, I've been saying this all year. No matter if they go, I don't know, finish 10 games above the second place team.
Yeah.
I mean, as a benchmark there, if they have like a 65 historical pace, when it's all said and done, obviously it's in their 72 games. Uh, I just will never be all in on the Jazz until I see them get it done in game 6 and 7 in the second round.
Yeah.
That's kind of how where I'm at with them. And do I think Donovan Mitchell is that dude? Yeah, I do. I really do. But I just don't believe in the rest of the team.
Yeah.
I
There you
I,
go.
I think Rudy Gobert is going to be a little soft. I mean, when it really matters, and not going to really enforce his skill set. And um, Boyan, I mean, yeah, he was missed big time last year. I mean, if they had him, they would have made the second round for sure. I really
Yeah.
believe that the way Mitchell played, and Mike Conley is lighting it up this year. But again, I need to see a dominating first round performance, and then I need to see a deep run the second round before I'll ever be all in. I'm the same way about the Bucks though.
Yeah.
Like no matter what, I'm sick of them going 65 70 wins, whatever you want to give them every year. And I'm
Yeah.
glad they're actually struggling and not giving enough right now. And you can kind of see that as they're like under 500 on the road. And I think it's 15 and or 14 and 5 at home. So it's like they're just trying to win the games that are easy and uh, what comes natural for them and not having to really work for tough road wins.
Yeah. So even Giannis, even though Giannis has won back-to-back MVPs, and he deserves it, right? Best player on the best team. His numbers are sick. He does it all in like 30 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Um, but I just don't believe in him yet until he has a jumper. I know everyone says it, but in the playoffs, when you have, a coach that's scheming their defense against this superstar, it's just a lot easier to defend someone who can't shoot
For sure.
outside of 15 feet. So if the best player on your team can't shoot, and when it's in the fourth quarter and the plays are not going to you, it's going to Chris Middleton, it's going to Devin Divichenko. Like, it's weird, right? Like that the MVP should be the one that should be carrying the team. So until I see that, and Giannis is great in other stuff, like fast break going downhill, no one can stop him. Help defense, nobody can stop. Like he's elite in that way. He's a great rebounder as well. It's just I want to see him make a tough shot. I want to see him make a game winner. Like I don't even remember, and I watch so much basketball, same as you. I don't remember a game winner from Giannis. It's all Chris Middleton.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said there. The problem is, it's like he chooses me over we and us all the time when it gets into the stretch, and he wants to be that guy, but he's
Yeah,
not that guy, and
yeah.
he can be that guy more if he resorts to Chris Middleton a little bit more,
That's a
and
great point. Yeah, that's a
it's
great
just a
point.
quick give and get it back to him, and then he's a little more spaced down low to work. Because Chris Middleton's phenomenal. He's one of the most underrated guys in the league, and
Totally agree.
Drew Middleton, Drew Holiday is shooting a career high, not a career high, but a season high from three, 36.5%, the highest in 7 years, and that's wild to me. He's never been that great of a 3-point shooter, but when he's got it going, it's super important to that team.
Yeah.
And he's just a way better playmaker, way smarter player than Eric Bledsoe as well. So he's
Yep.
got the talent around him. It's just, I think Budenholzer doesn't adjust in the playoffs either, and that's a big part of it. But like they have the team, and it's just letting Middleton be clutch, hit the open shots, create, and then work it back to Giannis once they separate that clutter in the paint, because the East is built to stop Giannis. They really are. I mean, Embiid and Simmons, Siakam, Boucher, whoever. I mean, Aaron Baines now, but it was Gasol, obviously. And then you got Miami, Bam out of the bio, and just Bam, really. Bam will just stop him himself. So I don't know. It's going to be tough, but until I see more creation, smarter play in the clutch, it's like he can play the way he plays and them have success. He just has to be a little smarter when it matters.
Yeah. To answer my own question, I think it's Boston. I think Boston is on its way down. Um, I used to like, I mean, I guess I still like Kemba a lot as a basketball player. I think, his knee injuries and just the miles on his legs are getting to him. And honestly, I hate to say it, and this is a hot take, but maybe Brad Stevens is overrated. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna put that out there. He hasn't won anything.
Why though?
Um, I feel like he's had the talent. I mean,
Which year? Which year? Because I'm a
even,
big Brad guy, and
even the dramatic Kyrie year, I feel like they had the talent. Like it's not like Cleveland had the talent. It was just LeBron and a bunch of scrubs.
I mean, what else do you need? I mean, let's be honest.
So right now in the East, if I gave you the Nets or the field, who would you take?
Oh, I'm taking the Nets, but um, it wouldn't. I mean, really, I mean, Philly is the only team I believe in to compete with them, and that's Seth Curry and Tobias Harris is the only reasons. I mean, I know Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are going to be these dudes, and as long as they're healthy, they're going to continue to be the same guys we've seen. And this is just the healthiest Joel Embiid's ever been. I mean, I don't know what kind of cortisone shots he's taking or what he's injecting himself with, but I'm loving it. I mean, he's the MVP right now, but
Yeah.
Tobias Harris has been the guy that people need to talk about more. I mean, he's basically 50, 40, 90.
Yep.
And it's been incredible. Exactly what they paid him to do.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize his last great season was in LA for the Clippers, and the coach for that team was Doc Rivers. So I think he's just allowed to really perform and really showcase his skills, and I think Doc lets him do that. So um,
One thing I'll
I
tell you
like
about Kemba though, his last 10 games, he's been rolling. He's like
he
getting
has.
healthy, he's getting
Yeah,
back.
he has. Yeah, he has. I think a healthy Boston. I mean, I think Marcus Smart is very crucial for that team. He does have a lot of limitations as a basketball player, but the thing that he brings for that team in terms of heart, hustle, defense, things like that, they don't have anyone else. Because Tatum and Brown are really focused on scoring right now because there's no one else that can really put the ball in the bucket. So they need someone like a Smart. Um, if you lose Gordon Hayward in the offseason, and you could say what you want to say about Gordon Hayward, but then you also lose Marcus Smart during the season, that's like two really good playmakers that they're missing. So
Yeah.
to their defense, they are kind of hobbled. I like the Nets, but the thing is, you follow me for several months now. I think I'm just not a front runner. Like I don't like the favorites. So I mean, if I had to ask that question and answer it, I would take the field. And I like the teams like nobody talks about, like the Miamis and the Torontos and teams like that, because they just have more to prove, in my opinion. Obviously, the Nets have all the talent in the world, and it's going to take an A+ game from Philly for 4 A+ games just to contend with the Nets, right? The Nets could have B games, C games, but there's always going to be another superstar that picks the other one up. So that is what they have in their repertoire.
Are you calling for an on-air bet or what are we talking here?
Okay. If you want the Nets, I'll take the field. We'll do some drinks.
All right.
Drinks on the line.
A round of golf at some point.
Oh yeah, that's good too. All right, on the West Coast, let's talk about any contenders that you think. Okay, so you said Utah. I agree with that. My thought process, and I'm a hater. I just think Jordan Clarkson is playing out of his mind, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it can sustain for 72 games in the regular season and maybe a 20 more games in the playoffs. I just think he's playing way above his head, and props to him for doing it. His running away as the six man of the year. But I need to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, last year, what did he do in the playoffs here? I know it wasn't great. Um, Bringing it up right here. I mean, he averaged 17 and percentages weren't terrible. I mean, yeah, I mean, if he has another playoff performance like last year and they bring back Boyan, I can see it. Um, yeah, it's basically he had 3 great games and then 4 duds. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what Jordan Clarkson did. But yeah, their bench isn't that deep. They need to go a little deeper yet. They're about seven deep. It's been because he can be another big body for him, playing great defense. Derek Favors felt like he never left. I mean, that's
Yeah, not many people
one of
realize
the best.
there.
Right. Yeah, everybody just Derek Favors is whatever, and I feel like he might be the best player that the casual fan doesn't know about.
Yeah.
He just analytically, he is so valuable to that team, and even there, but it's just he doesn't put up volume stats and counting numbers, so people just don't give a damn about him. Yeah, the Jazz, like I said, I'm not gonna really believe in them till about that second round and really proven. I'm a huge Quinn Snyder guy, and I'll never blame it on him. But it's hard to get top tier talent in Utah, so you got to
Sure.
develop it. And
Yeah.
I'm a really big believer in a guy like me, Oni. He's a Yale grad. He's done really well when he's come in for him, but they just don't keep giving him run. That's their problem on the development side of things.
All right, so let's, I guess, go through some teams that, so we went through some top teams that potentially may flop. Let's go through a team or two where not many people are talking about, maybe currently out of the playoff race now, but you think can sneak in and then maybe win a round or two. Anything pop out?
Yeah, for sure. Golden State. I mean,
Mhm.
they're ninth. I mean, a half a game behind Dallas right now, and they were as high as 6 for a long time there. And I mean, Steph Curry putting up his MVP numbers. I mean, he's just not a guy that. It sucks for me to say this because I'm as big of a Steph Curry guy as there is. He's just not the biggest floor raiser. He's a ceiling raiser. Doesn't make players around him that much better compared to LeBron and James Harden, in my estimation. But I mean, if you got great talent around him, there's no better guy you'd rather have than Steph. As I mean, 1A, 1B type of guy.
Yeah, and they do have a couple losses that they don't deserve, right? They did miss James Wiseman for a couple weeks there. They didn't have Draymond Green in the beginning of the season. Those are two big pieces on their front line. If they are healthy, I agree with you. I think they can definitely get in, and then they have all the experience in the world, right? Outside of Wiseman, they have guys who've made to the finals 4 or 5 years in a row. So that's a good pick. I really didn't think about that at all. Like everyone's talking about, Atlanta or maybe Sacramento's getting some plug. But yeah, that's a good point with Golden State.
I just love, as a Minnesota fan, Andrew Wiggins showing his butt again. Um, he really was disguising himself as some type of superhero first half of the season, being in the top 5 analytics side of things for a long time there, and now really averaging himself back out and dipping below that 40% shooting mark. And yeah, things are looking good on that trade end. But yeah, they're a team that'd be a great Bradley Beal destination.
Ooh.
Would really like to see him do something not to waste Steph's prime. I mean, Wiseman's a great piece to ship out at some point here. And I mean, I don't think Higgins now anymore. He's declined that much in the last couple weeks, but uh, Kelly Oubre has been great. They got decent role players they could put in a nice package.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, do you think Bradley Beal is moving?
I just want it bad. I just
Same here.
like hate when I just hate when great players are on bad teams as much as um, I don't want to see you said earlier in stacked teams. I mean, if there's one stacked team, why not have them all stacked teams? You know, let's just. I'd rather have three or four contenders than one or two. I really would. So at the end of the day, this is the NBA, not the NFL. I mean, there's parity will go for league wide. We're not going to go for parity at the top because we're
Yep.
never going to get that. I mean, last year we got fooled a little bit thinking there's going to be parity 7, 8 teams, and I even fell victim to that a little bit. And then at the end of, I mean, it was at the end of the day there was like three, two or
Yeah.
three as usual.
It's usually in the NBA, it's if you have the top five player in the world, one of them would definitely, win it for you. So it's a 5-on-5 game. One player does make more impact than football. I agree with you there. How about on the East? Is there a sleeper team that people are not talking about?
Yeah, real quick though, I'm going to say the Pelicans are way out right now, and I could see them getting in as well. That's the only other team. It's just the Zion Brandon Ingram fit has been awful, and it,
I
they're
think it's
not.
Bledsoe, man. I think it's Bledsoe and Stan
He's
Van
always the
Gundy.
cancer. He always the scapegoat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just needs to go to Oklahoma City and help them tank or something. I feel bad. But yeah, so on to the East. It's going to be an awesome battle. I mean, I really believe it. The East is. I said it from the beginning of the year, and usually they start stinking, but it's more so. They're going the right way. These teams instead of going the wrong way. Normally, after that first 20 games, all these teams you get really high on go the other way on you, and now Atlanta came into the break going 5-5, a 2-game win streak. Um, Indiana had a couple good wins there, but the Bulls, I mean, 6-4 in their last 10. The
Yeah.
Wizards 7-3 right now after
Some
being
big wins too.
yeah,
Big wins. Yeah.
for sure.
Clippers, Nets, they were huge.
And the Cavs, they went on an 0 and what 11 stretch there, and now they're 4-6 in their last 10. Like they got dogs. I mean, anytime you see a New York Knicks or a Charlotte Hornets team in the playoffs, I mean, anybody can get in, right?
True. Charlotte would be really fun. I guess first of all, congrats to the New York Knicks fans. They deserve it. They've gone through a lot of shit and turmoil up there in Madison Square Garden, but it's the NBA is a better place when the Knicks are in the playoffs.
Oh, agree. You
But
deserve your +1 above
yeah,
500.
yeah. Charlotte though, like imagine Charlotte getting in and LaMelo, under the playoff lights. That's gonna be awesome to watch.
Yeah, no, I'm all in on Charlotte. I love them. I just want them to get a real big that can be a presence for them on both ends. Like, just imagine Vucevic there. I think he'd do
Oh
amazing
yeah.
things,
Wow.
or even just a step down, go and get like Valanciunas or somebody like that that you can always count on to get a bucket, a great passer, and just mix with the other guy. They have great passers on their team. That's what they're loaded with right now.
Yeah.
They got wing depth for defense right now. Is what they need is big and guards that can play defense.
There's a big in Dallas, my Mavericks, that
Mm.
I would like to ship out. So if we can do a, like a Miles Bridges, maybe throw in some picks, I'm actually all for it.
He's
So
all out on Porzingis, huh?
yeah, I mean the KP experiment is it can't be truly graded because he's always injured, right? Sometimes the best ability is your availability, and
Mm.
he's injured all the time, and it's hard for me to um, really analyze and understand whether that's a good pickup or not. All right, Zach. So thank you so much for jumping on. I only have like 5 videos on my YouTube, but I'm hoping to grow, and I think having awesome guests like you is the way to it. So I would love to do this again. This was really fun. I could talk hoops with you all the time. I think we already kind of got into a few months back about who we think are the top, 10 players of all time or top 20 players of all time. I would love to do a list with you on a future podcast. But before I end it, is there anything you wanted to plug or shout out?
Yeah, we'll have to do that top 100 or top 20, top 50 sometime. Yeah, we got good discourse going with that. But yeah, you got 2 subscribers here. I've just subscribed on both my accounts for Analytics Capper. Everybody listen to that YouTube channel. But for me, ZAKNOBLE is my Twitter handle. So interact with me anytime. Appreciate any new followers there. And then the podcast is Noble and Roosh Show by Ballislife. So appreciate any rates and subscribes there. Need every supporter I can get.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Zach. We'll have you on soon.
Thanks a lot, man, and happy parlay.